So it's this kind of like this place of helplessness and just kind of floating. And all I knew how to do was like, you know, work harder and party harder and date more and like all this stuff. So I ended up actually joining the guys out in the Lad Bible full time in 2015. Moved out to the UK, left New York, which is my home in 10 years. And as I think about it after the fact, it was definitely this Hail Mary effort to just like reinvigorate my psyche. And I'd say it worked for about a month. And then I just started waking up with that same feeling, except now I was in Manchester in the United Kingdom, which is like, it's not London. It was just like a very big change of pace. And, you know, I, again, didn't have the tools to deal with it. So I just kind of suppressed it and kept going. And it was about 6 months into my gig there where we were having a quarterly review and was giving my very standard presentation, sitting as executive director of the business. And about, a few words into the presentation, just had like a full-on panic attack in front of the entire company. Like it was shaking, my voice went like
in a boardroom kind of setting,
whole office type setting, like 75 chairs turned, staring at me, just like having this meltdown, which is awful, right? Like it's just totally it shattered that perception of invincibility. It was super embarrassing, but also really scary. Like I'd never experienced anything like that before.
Probably super out of control too, hey? Like if you're like the kind of person who just does things and gets shit done all the time, and you're like, what is my body doing to me? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and the next day I broke out in shingles.
Isn't it insane how this whole idea, and I know it's like quite a prevalent idea in counseling, like the body keeps the score, right? It's like we're really good at our brains, right? Our brains being like, no, not stress, not stress. I actually had a situation like this yesterday. I actually had a lawsuit come in, and I was like, no big deal. Big deal. Our lawyer will deal with it. I don't even have to deal with it. And yet my body was like, actually big deal. Actually big deal.
Yeah. I know that feeling. And that's one of those things of entrepreneurship. This is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but
no tangents, Adrian.
Yeah. But you live in two speeds basically with entrepreneurship. It's this feeling of like, all right, we're fucking invincible. It's working. Yeah. This is great. Or it's like, holy fuck, it's all burning down. Like I just got sued, I'm screwed, like danger. And it's like, and it can flip like by the second. It's not even weeks or months, phases. It's like, it could be 1 second, like high on your horse, next second, like under a rock, being like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So back to the story. So, shortly after my whole panic attack and really what culminated in more of just like a full on burnout, I got pushed out of the Lad Bible, like not in a malicious way, but it just wasn't the right fit, and they knew it, and I was reluctant to know it, but I more or less got fired and just found myself at this crossroads where it was like, okay, we'll get some Xanax and keep going, or take a step back and really reevaluate. So I was very fortunate. I was able to choose the latter route, and didn't really know what that meant at the time, but thought, okay, this is like, probably seen this movie before, like buy a one-way ticket to Nepal and see how this goes. And thinking like maybe I'd go away for a couple of months, and what it turned into was 2 years of just completely checking out, traveling, wandering.
What a great movie that is, Adrian. Like,
yeah.
Like,
it was transformative in every way. It allowed me to get some altitude on my life and understand all of these imbalances and these, I would say patterns, behaviors that were just kind of not necessarily helping me in any way, or certainly not making life sustainable. Right. So, through that time I was writing, I was doing photography, and really just exploring all these parts of my life that I'd left unexplored. And it was about 30 countries in the 2 years, just like total freedom in a way. And without getting into the long story there, it's like, got back to the States, and really, like, if I could sum it up in 3 ways, it was 1, understanding just how essential the outdoors and nature are to the human spirit, and how not feeling a connection there can create such imbalance. 2 was like a great appreciation for simplicity and just the idea of living with less, with less choices, all these things, and also very simple skills like chopping wood. Like, what a great activity, right? It's immediate gratification. It's things like that. Cleaning a fish, like these skills that were so super simple, had nothing to do with sitting in front of a screen. And the third was really just a real sense of human connection. And this really started with building a true sense of honesty with myself. I think going through that experience, it really forced me to go inwards and be like, okay, what the fuck? Like, what were you not listening to that was creating all of this like turmoil under the surface? And I think that honesty with myself led to honesty with others, and like true honesty, right? Like 10 years ago, I probably never would have told somebody I had a panic attack, right? Like, it was just the ability to be human and be honest. And through that honesty with others creates like real human connection. And all of a sudden, I think honestly, for the first time in my life, I was feeling like people were seeing me and I was seeing them. And it was just a really impactful thing for me at that point in my life. So all that to say, land back in the US, I'm back in New York City and consulting for a big fintech company, and basically falling back into old patterns and realized like this can't happen. So I was on a road trip after a friend's wedding in Utah, went to Boulder to visit some friends. I also went to college here. And it was just a morning drive through the mountains where it was like, fuck yeah, it's time to come back here. And within a month, I was here. And then, that was really like the first concrete step into what became Ned.